everyone, and welcome to the Lunch Zone. Today we are playing Alan Wake as part of our spooky month, which will be ending with this. I am Nathan Humple. I'm a metadata librarian here at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee.
I'm Kelly Breivik, a PhD student in the English department at UW-Milwaukee.
And off screen here, I am Thomas Malaby, a professor in the anthropology department here.
Alright, let's get started.
So have you played this before?
I have played this before. That's all I got. I just want to make sure that we get the graphics full screen. That's fine. Okay.
Can we throw on subtitles?
Sure.
Thank you. So, right off the bat, I love that there's episodes and video commentary, just like a goddamn DVD.
Yeah. Wait, no, I don't want to continue. I'm going to start a new game. Okay, let's go with easy.
I also love renaming the
Stephen King
the difficulties, like easy, normal, then nightmare.
Mm-hmm. And there's little fun to be had in explanations. They're antithetical to the poetry of fear. In a horror story, the victim keeps asking why, but there can be no explanation, and there shouldn't be one. The unanswered mystery is what stays with us the longest, and is what we'll remember in the end.
Hashtag.
My name is Alan Wake. I'm a writer. I've always had a vivid imagination, but this dream unsettled me. It was wild and dark and weird, even by my standards. So yes, it began with a dream. Following a typical nightmare pattern, I was late, desperately trying to reach my destination, a lighthouse. For some urgent reason, I couldn't remember. I'd been driving too fast down a coastal road to get there.
Rip.
I'd seen the hitchhiker too late.
But what was Homeboy doing in the middle of the road?
Well,
He was dead. I was convinced they'd put me in jail and I would never see Alice again. Suddenly, his body was gone. I was in shock from the crash. I could hardly stand my feet.
Is this still a dream?
I believe so, yeah.
Oof.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, walking and running animations.
There's a certain eagerness.
I had to
most
go to the
animations,
lighthouse.
the way they're
I
done.
knew there was something important waiting for me there.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so I'm supposed to get to the lighthouse, but immediately I'm going to go this way. Of course.
Oh, they're
The
gonna.
bridge had collapsed. I'd have to find another way.
I
to
think
the
also, if I'm
lighthouse.
not mistaken, running effectively and also running looking cool are two different techniques.
Well, sure.
So,
Do we all look a little silly when we're
Yeah,
actually running?
that's
flat
like
out?
speed walking, you know. Speed walking is one of the most ridiculous looking things in the
What
world.
does that say? Alan Wake
Yeah.
on the poster? Oh, dude.
Whoa!
he's right there.
You recognize me, do you, Ryder? You think you're
No.
God?
Whoa.
You think you can just make up stuff? Play with people's lives and kill them when you think it adds to the drama? You missed your deadline!
Oh boy.
Yeah. That's scary.
You can't
It's funny, I'm doing a D&D one-shot tomorrow with a bunch of people from here, and I was actually thinking about doing like you missed your deadline or something of that nature.
I I realized that the hitchhiker was a character from the story I'd been working on.
Hitchhiker was a character from the story I was working on.
How does it feel to die by the hands of your oppressor?
2012.
I thought they were gonna say 20 years. I was like, no fucking way.
Very advanced. But 2012 is pretty old.
That's like 20 years in video game years.
I believe this was from the previous generation.
So I presume he's trying to get to a typewriter. And when he's done to the typewriter, he can write any game.
Or you have to get the ribbon and use it to save on a typewriter. Audio. Do we have Oh, that's one.
Oh.
We're on the Scarlet and I turned down the
Oh,
thing.
okay.
Stop! No! Damn it, die! No! No! No!
Testing.
Not sure if that's any better.
Yeah, I think you'll have to turn up a little bit more. Testing.
I was trapped. There was no way out.
Yeah, we're still not peaking. I mean, the other thing I can do is switch it over to the blue real quick.
You're giving him much interactive
The cabin was a death trap.
opportunity.
I had to get out.
We're gonna lose audio for 1 moment.
Whoa.
Okay. Yep, now we're good.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Was this game very well received?
Pretty well received. Yeah, I think. Oh, I know I can't turn up the volume.
Oh, the receptor. There we go.
Oh. Okay.
Go for the legs.
Am I doing that? Oh, okay. That took a lot. Oh, okay. All right.
Robomofo said Care Bear stare.
Who said that? What was the-
Robomofo.
seems to be a motif of lighthouses in my life right now. I just watched Annihilation, which prominently features a lighthouse, and a new movie by the director of The Witch, The Lighthouse, just came out. Whoa! Sorry, I was thinking about lighthouses.
Where I come from, the lighthouse is like the emblem.
Oh, he's over to there too. Jeez. That's a fast respawn.
Because like the Montauk Lighthouse is very popular
Mm.
on Long Island.
That's safe haven.
Oh, I guess it is. Oh, there's emergency supplies in here.
Nice.
Flare gun. Very large. Oh, that's gun ammo? Okay. Or flare ammo. Oh, I see. Gotcha.
Ooh.
But I'm really kind of... Whoa!
Nice.
Oh, did you shoot an oil drum or something?
No, I shot the flare rather than the...
Oh, well, now we know why that's useful.
Yeah. How do I switch
You
weapons,
need
though?
batteries, it says.
Yeah, I'm out of them.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Ah! Forget it.
Run away.
So, as always, my question when it comes to, like, spawning enemies, do you get experience points when you shoot them or no?
No, I don't believe so. It doesn't... At least right now, it doesn't seem like... Whoa! That's a consideration. But you may... You know, this is an action game. It's possible that they drop things or whatever. So
Yeah.
there's... That's kind of an interesting thing. Like, there is that necessity to incentivize you to kill people oftentimes rather than run away. And some of it is just a mechanical thing where you can't progress until you kill them for some unknown reason. Oops.
Yeah, the contrived tension, dramatic tension of games, sort of like horror movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the parodies show up that say, you know, safety, death. Here are your two options.
Yeah.
And the character doesn't know which way to go.
And I think, I don't know, it's interesting because those contrivances, of course, are important because they provide an emotional experience and give you that, what the game is trying to convey, fear or necessary to confront people, but after a while, the contrivances continue to be contrived, and it doesn't...
Right.
You notice them, and so it just seems silly. But you also kind of accept them in games, because it's like, well, I don't know how else you would do that.
Well, games have an interesting relationship between, you know, arbitrariness and
Ooh,
naturalness,
boy.
you know.
That uncanny valley. Sorry.
Pay particular attention to his eyelashes.
Yeah.
I just love, like, PS3 era games because, like, I feel like the generation before that, it was, like, very clearly, like, artificial. And then come the PS3, they're like, it's like real life.
And it's not.
No.
I mean...
Uncanny Valley.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the differences between indie games and AAA games is that indie games kind of gave up on... I shouldn't say entirely, but for a large part gave up on that artificiality and just said, well, we're going to do a different approach.
Robomofo says, interesting choice to make the slow part of the game take place on a barge.
I mean, it kind of highlights the linearity of it.
No choice but to stand around and talk. Isn't that just like real life? Stuck in an elevator or something with someone who just you have to interact with now. For a vacation, you're not spending a lot of time with your wife, Alan.
Well, I just got a call. Come on. Okay.
Quest.
Oh,
Get back to the
man.
car.
This is very much like real life for me, of just standing around awkwardly. Leave ferry? Not yet.
Do it now. Try it.
Okay. Wow. Sync by Microsoft. Those little advertisements.
Do have you guys noticed much use of a mechanic where doing less, gives you options? Like, for example, let's imagine on that ferry, he had stayed close to his wife, never got close enough to that radio host dude for him to introduce himself and have that dialogue.
Yeah.
Does that maybe mean he's less known in the town
Oh.
and, create maybe some advantages perhaps? Games don't tend to have a sort of less agency, do they? As
Yeah.
sort of tactical.
I mean, you have to have a character that would be that would be their like personality.
Yeah.
It would be like reserved, and if you made them go out of the way, it wouldn't seem right in some ways. I think every
a
small
character
town
that
in I was just going to say I think every small town in media is based off of Twin Peaks.
You're right. Yeah, or even you're set up the opposite way with a character that's very, outgoing and social, and what you don't know is that if you played against type,
Yeah.
you'd actually have some other opportunity. That would, in some ways, be more challenging.
Yeah, well, it's very challenging in some ways to just sit around and do nothing, but I think because you feel compelled to do something in the game. There, what you brought up,
Do me a favor, Sonny. I could really use a tool right now. Coconut.
What are pirates doing here?
Myself. Both of my legs.
Okay, whatever.
Talk about being stuck listening to people.
Are you serious? Coconut again? You disgust me.
Is it broken?
Unbelievable. It does that. Yeah, but you need to give it a good solid.
Oh, it's a quick time type thing.
Yeah. Oh, I see. I need to tap it.
You put the lime in the coconut. Drink them both.
Oh,
Now that's
well.
what I'm talking about.
God.
This is it.
Mm.
I think I can handle it. I didn't want to wait. I wanted to find stuff, to get the key and get out as soon as possible. The waitress was getting... Hello?
Is he in the bathroom?
What?
Just
You
chill
should
out,
write a
man.
knock on the men's room.
God.
Carl couldn't make it. Unfortunately, he was taken in. But I have the key for you and instructions on how to get to the lake.
Okay.
I wish you a good stay in my cabin. I'll come by later to check how you've settled in. And to meet your wife. I insist.
God.
What you were talking about with not doing something in a game and having different results reminded me of a video I saw a couple weeks ago. I forgot the channel it was on, but it was somebody who was the premise of their video was that they had their wife play video games. The wife was not familiar with video games, and he just put her in front of a video game, various video games, to see how she would play. And she was terrible at them and didn't enjoy it because she didn't. Part of the video was that she didn't understand the conventions that we have in video games, and there are assumptions that video game makers make. But another thing that he had noticed was that she. One of the other assumptions that she had was that video games are more interactive than they actually are. Like, the idea of interacting with people in those diners and maybe something different happens, we kind of realize that a convention of this media is that there wouldn't be that many...
Mrs. Wake! Your keys!
wouldn't have the possibility of having a million different iterations of a game. So we kind of expect that and know that in this particular case, this is more of an action game. It's probably a little more linear.
Right. I think, more and more attention needs to be paid to those kind of cultivated dispositions that we have from particular kinds of gaming experience that different groups have.
Well, it's something to play with. I think it's a rich vein of and playing with those conventions and expectations are a sign of a mature medium. I think it's every medium has those experimentations with the conventions to try to displace the audience in some ways, and also has examples that conform to those conventions so that the audience feels more comfortable. And I think it's a push and a pull, but I do wonder if on some level if games are taking for granted what they have.
Yeah, I guess my comment was less from an idea about game design and what game designers could do more of or less of, and more from scholarship about games. Right, that we don't talk enough about those dispositional kind of elements that contribute to the whole gaming landscape and what's viable and what's not. That there is an implicit sort of coordination and set of bet making that's going on between designers and players, where they're not necessarily, the designers aren't confronting the fact that, oh, my audience assumes this. And the players aren't confronting the fact that, oh, we're this kind of gamer. We're not just generic gamer. We're not, guess what? We're not universal, our own particular experiences. Particularly.
Is that the computer making that noise?
I don't know. Seems odd. Wait, put my light. Well, obviously, the power supply would be the amount of water.
Why am I not seeing chat on here? It's strange.
It's funny, the call letters for that radio station was only 3, and they're supposed to be 4. Robomofo says, I think this is about as far into the game as I made it.
Made it a little further. I think what happened for me was this was one of those games where I was sort of like, I don't have time for this. Like, it had I realized...
Alright, as much as I hate to talk about Ian Bogost, like, he talks about effective labor and gameplay as work.
Mm-hmm.
So what stops a game from feeling like work? Because right now this sort of feels like work because you're doing these little tasks, but without getting into like the survival horror aspect that this game is advertised to be.
Well, I struggle with that on stream, and I talk about this a lot, because this does feel like a task, because I'm like, get to the meat of this game, and this does not feel like the meat of the game. But that's because I'm on stream. If I was playing this by myself, I would recognize, again, the conventions of this being a sort of story-oriented tutorial, and I have to go through this so I understand the controls and whatnot, and so... in a way, it feels like work insofar as training feels like work. But...
Because I think of, like... Because this feels like a less, like, biochemical Resident Evil 5. And in Resident Evil 5, you're dropped in, and within, like, 5-10 minutes at most, you are fighting hordes of zombies. And you learn from the quick-time events that lead you up to that fight.
My feeling about it is that it's easy to reach for a label like work for what something feels like, but I'm not sure it will bear the weight of these kinds of questions. I think we want to notice that difference. But what's really going on? Because we can be doing work and feel engaged.
Yes.
Right? We can be engaged and not be doing work. So I think a question of when do we find games engaging? When do they command our attention? They're compelling in some sense, versus when we begin to feel alienated from them. We begin to feel like, wait, why am I doing this? I think it's one of the great examples of where the language of work versus play, productive work versus non-productive work, creeps in and distorts what we're really interested in talking about, which is what makes something command our attention or not. I think we become engaged as human beings anthropologically when there is kind of an open-endedness, but not too much. We're not overwhelmed, but maybe I'm learning something about the story. There's a pattern that I'm unraveling about the story, but it's not too pat. And it's not too, what the heck,
Yeah.
Or, similarly, with my command of my interaction and my performance, I'm learning to act reliably. That's engaging. It's not like, everything I do is random, nor is it like, everything is super simple and procedural. So I guess, that's my recommendation. If we're interested in some of those questions, I think a lot of what game designers are doing, without necessarily putting it in these terms, but it's in a kind of practical design reasoning, is coming up with ways to engage us on those types of fronts.
See, now I'm interested. But RoboMofo says it's interestingly slow, which I appreciate, but wasn't feeling at the time. Is tedium an effective / useful goal in the game design?
Well, again, I think it's hard to know, because it depends on what your expectations are as a player when you go into it. And if I know that this is a somewhat story-heavy game, then I expect some... It's like, if I start a Final Fantasy game, like, I'm not going to start a Final Fantasy game at 11 o'clock at night, expecting myself to just play for a couple minutes and then go to bed. I know I'm going to have to devote a fair amount of time just to get started with the game.
I think any of these things like tedium, we could spend some time unpacking what that means, differently in different contexts of different people. But even if we bracket that set of considerations off, I think any element of experience, as with any work of art, any dimension of experience, feeling a sense of tedium, frustration, feeling anger, all kinds of responses are available for an artist to try and cultivate or tap into, to make use of, right? So it's theoretically possible to create an engaging game that has tedium and that you learn something about tedium from playing the game, you know?
Yeah, oh yeah.
But I think it's also possible to make a game that is in fact tedious, that leads you to dislike it and thereby learn something about tedium too, right? It doesn't have to be an engaging game to be a successful work of art in that sense.
Yeah, well, and that is again where sort of there's a difference between a AAA game, which is trying to engage the broadest audience, with maybe a more experimental game, which is willing to alienate certain people while engaging other people that are approaching it from a different expectation.
Right.
I think a lot about practicing music with this conversation, where like you know, and tedium, because sometimes the goal isn't always to become a better musician, but to learn through trial and error, persistence. Robomofo says, I think that expectation that Nathan mentioned at play here. Here I'm expecting to be playing a scary game, but I don't know how to pronounce that. Yeah, I think so. I'm expecting to go slow and feel immersed in the story world.
You talked about music, and there was something else I wanted to mention in terms of tedium, because repetition is of course an important aspect of certain music that can be used in various ways. That also kind of depends on the context in some ways. It can be used to build tension. It can be used for relaxation. It can be used for a lot of various
and narrative
things.
Purposes, because I think a lot about like the reprise in musicals, where like it only becomes meaningful with its repetition
and with departure from repetition. Right?
Yeah.
So parallelism, back to Roman Jakobson, we find it engaging, or it grabs our human attention as pattern noticing machines when something is patterned but not fully. There are meaningful variations and departures from it.
That is spooky. Find help.
I love that. I do find it fun. There's these little like knickknacks that you pick up, like the manuscript pages, and I'm like, I just picked one up, but it's like, would I really be doing that in this situation?
Robomofo says, is that the big bad or just the terms of service?
That would be interesting to like have a terms of service in the game that you need to agree with.
I think the only way to beat this game is to be a Karen.
I had to figure a way out of this. Any second now, and Stucky would be knocking on the door with his axe like Nicholson in The Shining.
They really wear their influences on their sleeves. Oh, Energizer! I love the product placement. This is so funny.
I really enjoy the voice acting, though. Like, the intermittent, like, kind of manic sort of talking with the, like, demonic interruption.
That seems like kind of an understatement. Oh, this is bad. Well...
Well, you may have wondered how I got here.
Oh, hey, the door's open. Whee! Okay. Oh.
The open, whatever it was.
OSHA would not be happy.
Nope.
Whoa! Whoa. Ow. Okay, hold on.
Oh,
this
man.
is... Yeah.
Sorry, like, I know
Kinda
that
quick,
sucked for
actually.
you, but that was like a really good smack on their part.
Oof. Yeah, and...
Oh, I love the...
Yeah, I wonder, that light you turned on, would it do the same thing as your flashlight?
Oh,
If
I
you
don't
walk them
know.
into that cone? I don't know.
No, that helped. I like the arrows. That's very helpful.
Yeah, I also like that it kind of forces you to use this, like the flashlight as a resource,
Yeah.
so that you can't, like, forego it.
All right, there's a flare gun again. Now, again, I still don't know how... Okay, there we go. Now I know how to change weapons. Because the flare gun is like a rocket launcher. I don't want to, use her right away. Oh, I think I needed to kick that... This must have been electrified.
Yeah, so then this just fell over. It was electrified or something. Oh,
Play Scholar says hello.
hey there.
Would you just die?
Nice.
Is there anything in that?
Yeah, it's like for emergencies. Oh, an Energizer battery!
Yay! Well, they didn't get product placement for the ammo?
I also love, like, with the fact that, like, Energizer's slogan is just like, it did last forever, pretty much, but now we need to get a shit ton of batteries.
I was gonna say, like, this doesn't... Like, I'm not trusting Energizer after this game. The batteries don't last at all.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that is great.
Like, these are some dollar store ass batteries here.
Unintended consequences of product placement, right? You get this collision of the game design, like resource economy and scarcity, and the desire of the company to be identified with, like,
Yeah.
what is that? What is
Efficiency.
the bunny
Energizer
phrase?
bunny. It
Keep
keeps going and
going.
going.
And going.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's the blog post for this week. I hope somebody does that, actually. It's worth commenting on, right? I mean... Oh, here we go.
Oh. Sorry.
Oh, he was there.
Killed a rock.
Stuff he was stalking.
Mm-hmm.
In a sticky situation.
So there's a lot of horror tropes that are kind of... Whoa! Ow!
Flare gun, maybe? Oh.
Oh, see...
Look out.
Oh, hey!
Nice dodge.
Oh, hold on. Hold on, let me... Oh, see... Ow! I have to say, it does really feel like you're getting hit. Like, you get hit.
Yeah, the
there's
camera
certain...
work is pretty good
Yeah.
on that. Yeah.
So, it seems like the light only... the battery in the light mostly diminishes... Oh, I get it. So, the battery in the light recharges, but it does diminish when you're using it to, like, kill
To intensify, yeah.
Yeah.
That little...
Which doesn't
trigger
make
or
a
whatever.
lot of sense, but... I mean, it makes sense in, like, game design. It doesn't really make a lot of sense from, like, a logical point of view.
Play Scholar says we should be killing them with rock salt.
Why is that?
I don't get that.
Like demons, like you salt and burn. So you
Oh, yeah, okay. But they have a darkness that is affecting them, I think is the... And they really made that Energizer thing clear.
Ooh, these are lithium.
Oh!
Oh boy.
this?
It was no wonder. It was bound to be a generator somewhere in the bulbs.
It seems to have like a small amount of puzzle solving, but fairly linear puzzle solving.
Yeah.
And I think the puzzle... God, I wish I could remember this article, because it seems... Ow! I don't like them throwing things at me.
And they really do send them from different angles.
Yeah.
You know, they circle. One they'll flank intentionally. Clearly.
Yeah.
God.
Ow.
They really are smart enemies, like, which I appreciate.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, if I, was a demon infected by darkness, I'm not sure if I would have the wherewithal to strategize like this. There's an article that talks about the engagement that adventure games have. Oh, he seems stuck. I'll get him in a second. And part of that is sort of like...
Right after I said they seem like intelligent enemies.
And part of that is sort of withholding plot elements so that you have to engage with puzzles. And I think you see that here too. It's a contrivance that you need to go over here to start the generator, so you go back to do whatever I need to do over there. Like, I don't even know what I need to do over here, but I know I need to do something. And again, it's a contrivance, and I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad contrivance. It just is. To sort of
glitches get stitches. Right.
It's a contrivance to make the game a little bit longer. Good lord. As is this. Come on. Oh, okay. That makes sense. I can't just push down to move it down. I need to, like, move it over and down with my stick. That's silly. I want to step back a little because I feel like it's really easy to criticize games when you're playing them on stream. You know, it's like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 thing where it's just
and
so...
Packers win the Super Bowl.
Woo, Packers! It's just easy to, criticize things while playing them. But I do find a lot of this very effective and engaging as well. So, I mean, I think it's a good game. I'm just not sure if I want to keep playing it.
Oh, it's that dude we met on the ferry.
Uh-oh.
Is that the safe haven or no?
It is a safe haven.
Can you get healed more than you are?
No.
No.
I think I need to maybe upgrade or something. I don't know.
Nice.
Another flare gun. And now I have another flare gun. I also have some shotgun ammo, which I wish I had a shotgun. Seems like it would be useful.
Oh boy.
Oh, another manuscript page.
Gotta get those.
The only thing scarier than demons is someone taking your idea. Oh boy. Got to get some dogs.
Oh, there were batteries there too.
Nice. I really love the element of light for the safe haven. Especially with like the beginning where you're going, you're trying to find Stucky in the bathroom, and she's like, "Oh, you might get hurt in the dark."
Mm-hmm.
Just that
Well-
fun little.
Yeah, they seem to be coming in like threes or so now.
Yeah.
Get 'em. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Those batteries, you really go through those.
Yeah, I know. I don't like that. I feel like I go
I
through
mean, they
them.
recharge when you don't use them.
Yeah, but I go through them a lot in a fight. Ow. Oh.
That was a long throw there.
Oh, I moved. It's interesting the graphical effects here, because the light is not only it doesn't just obscure the enemies, it's also fairly disorienting. Like, it moves around a lot. Which is not...
What was the game that we played the other week? Where we were inside and we had to light everything to be able to see. And I might be thinking of Ryan.
Maybe. I mean, that's...
I think, yeah.
Sounds like something I've played, but...
But anyway, we had the entire screen in gameplay, but then once we were inside, we had only a fraction of the screen. And like, if we had started with the fraction of the screen, it would feel different than if we suddenly had our vision limited from what we were used to playing. Oh. That's gonna be a note from me, dog.
Wait a minute, hold on. I feel like... Is there something up here? Okay, yeah.
I remember ads in our stream before.
Do we have an ad?
Oh no, I have I put a little robot to link the YouTube in.
Yeah, I know, but I had an ad pop up.
Oh yeah. That happens.
Then maybe because I have like a Prime account, so I wouldn't see those.
Oh, mine must have expired because I had the Prime account. Oh,
Whoa! Oh, jeez. Good use of crows. I mean, that's symbolically rich. Okay.
Well.
Time for the flare gun.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Well, Nathan was on my level.
Run! Okay. Oh wow.
What?
Hold on. Do you want to pick up the manuscript page? No. Oh crap. Okay, this is where it ends. Oh. All right. I gotta get that flare gun. Oh jeez, where the heck am I now?
Why, that's your last checkpoint? No. It was a ways away.
Yeah. That's not too bad. Okay. But I wonder if I have to go back here to get the... It's always the confusing thing with how checkpoints work. Like, did I... No, I don't have to go back here to get that. Alright. Yeah, let's do that.
Don't remember that.
I just kind of stumbled into that.
Ah. Give it to him. Give him the what for.
Alright. Turn around. Woo!
Right? Because it's all light, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool.
I wanted to comment on the way that it appears to be using these side characters, or the enemies initially were presented as like a character that I had written.
Right.
And I also think it's
shotgun.
I also think it's interesting that this Stucky character keeps repeating these sort of cliched phrases.
Yeah.
And it seems like the writer here has stuck this person in a loop of cliches because they did not develop the character.
Yeah.
You know.
Can you grab those helmets? Or are they just for...
I think that's just for atmosphere. Brr. Okay. I don't know if I'm unusual, but I always feel like if I get a new weapon, I don't want to use it right away because I feel like
You'll use up all the ammo.
Yeah.
At the wrong time.
Right.
See, I feel like when you get it right away is like the perfect time to use it.
Like they
just
want you to
once.
use. Yeah. See, this is look at the distortion in the graphics.
I mean, you really kind of don't know who the potential enemies are.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty well done.
Especially with the swinging
more
shadows and.
Yeah, it looks like there's a whole box of it, but I can only pick up. Maybe I could. Maybe I think what that is there's a boss coming, and I think what that is I can go back and pick up a fair number of ammo.
Right.
But I can only fill up to a certain amount.
The metagrammar of survival games.
Yeah. Bunch of
There's
items.
Stucky. Ooh. Flare those guys.
Nope. Oops.
You have to reload.
Yeah, this way you learn that this interesting mechanic where you can kind of take advantage of the timing, the delay effect you get just from the light at times. Oh, look out.
You say I'm a professional? Ow.
Oof.
Man, I got a lot of batteries. That's good, I guess. Not gonna help me too
Not
much.
a lot of health though.
No.
Is that the flare gun?
Yeah.
Did I get him?
I did get him.
Achievement unlocked. Nordic walking.
Nice.
He had recommended that as an activity.
Oh, right.
His monologues.
Coffee thermos.
What does
Maybe
the
that
coffee
will
do?
revive you.
I think that gives you a bit of health,
Yeah.
which is funny.
Coffee gives me life.
I think I see a gas station up there.
Yeah, that's where I'm supposed to go.
I recognize the blade and see the falls right.
What I think is kind of interesting is the cliches of horror in this are, pretty pronounced, and that's fine. A small town away from the big city and the resources, an unfamiliar town. But then once your wife gets apparently killed, you warped to this strange place and you don't know anything about it. But that's not really dwelt on as a source of horror in a game because that's just a normal occurrence in a game in some ways. The horror comes from these enemies that are stalking you. If I was in this situation, or even if I was reading this situation in a book, the disorientation would be not knowing how I got there. I was in an accident. Why was I in an accident? Where's my wife? Why can't I investigate what happened to my wife?
911, what's your emergency? I was being sarcastic, but...
There's no island on Cauldron Lake, not since the big eruption of the 70s.
Please, I can take you there, okay?
You look like you've taken a pretty bad knock to the head. Are you okay?
Listen.
We'll figure this out. Please get in the car. We'll swing by the lake and then we'll go to the station, okay? Mr. Wake, have you seen Stucky, the guy who owns this place?
I realized I couldn't tell her what had happened in the forest. She wouldn't have believed me. And then she wouldn't have helped me with Alice.
Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make any sense. He seemed to be possessed by a demon and was throwing things at me, so I killed him. The delivery of her line that there's no island in this lake seemed very not well directed in some ways.
Yeah.
Because it was like, there's a cabin. I'm in the cabin on this lake, and she's like, there's no island on that lake. But it sort of like came out as just like, that's a normal thing that people think, but there really isn't an island. Oh, kind of a good place to end it.
Mm-hmm.
I also like games that have like music in it, like
Mhm.
sort of like this.
Well, interestingly enough, what happened with this game is you can't buy it on Steam anymore because the licensed music, the license ran out, and I got this game on Steam. What tends to happen in those cases is the distributor or the developers will put it on a major sale. They'll, price it down to like $2 or something, because you can buy it on Steam and download it and have it in your library, but nobody else can. So they want to up whatever money they can get before it goes out. But it's an interesting legal ramification of game design. Because you can license those songs only for a set period of time. A lot of times.
Yeah.
Now, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas did a different thing where they just removed the song.
Worst weather I've ever seen.
You should put some coffee on.
A writer
Hey, handsome.
with a fucking apartment in New York City.
Shots are turning out.
Well, apparently he's a very successful one, although that still leads to a lot of questions.
This is a fucking huge apartment.
You'd have to be
Like, it's not a
Stephen
closet.
King level, Michael
Yeah.
Crichton level to.
Well,
Maybe he is,
that seems to be the implication,
Right.
It is, but still, this is like a fucking $3 million apartment. At least.
Coffee's on.
Why is this a TV? Why is it not unboxed?
It's a CCTV.
Oh.
CC.
Just wandering around here. See, it's interesting. They have, most of these are blurred out.
Mom's survival guide.
Uh-huh. Do I have 2 copies of Mom's Bible Guide? Is there one up there, too?
Yeah.
Yep. If you have that many books, sometimes you just get
One
duplicates.
signed by the author.
Oh, okay. I love hanging QR codes on my wall.
Do you know what that QR is, too?
I have no idea. I don't really care.
Whatever.
I often walk on my desk chair.
Oh, I already looked at it. Wait a minute. Oh, I was... Okay, I understand. I didn't get that the author's name was as huge as it was on there. I thought they're all the same book, but no. That's a
Do
nice
some
little...
laundry.
Yeah. Got a nice bathroom.
He has a
We
tub
take the
and a
pills.
shower.
Yeah, sometimes you're in the mood for a bath, sometimes you're in the mood for... I can't take the pills, but they are there.
And it's opened as if they're like meaningful.
Right. Maybe I'll have to take them. Ooh, look at those sunglasses. Oh, I'm supposed to go to Alice. I'm sorry. I was like, what am I doing in my apartment?
It is 1 o'clock, though.
All right. Well, we should quit. And we actually did a good sort of like, we'll just do one episode. So
It worked out quite well.
yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. This was Alan Wake. I am hoping next time we will get to play the Untitled Goose Game.
I am hoping to.
And I'm thinking of doing a theme for next month of animals, of games where you play an animal.
Are you going to play a horse?
Horse?
With the fox.
The-
Or the...
Oh!
And let's not forget, on the 20th, we're going to have some special guests.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Peace out.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.